So I've been busy for the last couple of weeks. My schedule is very hectic, and I apologize that I haven't uploaded a new video in basically 3 weeks. But I'm here now. Hello everyone, my name is Jeremiah, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I got something special for all of you guys, and if you saw the thumbnail of this video, then you know that this is gonna be my first book review. So does this mean I'm officially a booktuber? I'm giving a book review, so I feel like I'm a booktuber as well. That's a cool thought. One thing you should know about me is that I've never given book reviews before. I read books, but I just never reviewed them. So this is very exciting for me to do this video. I'm new to this, and I apologize if this video isn't anything like your booktubers videos. But I'll do my best to keep it informative and entertaining. So you guys must be asking yourself, what book is Jeremiah gonna be reviewing? What type of book could he possibly be reviewing? Spit it out, Jeremiah! Okay, calm down. So the book I'm gonna be reviewing is called All the King's Traitors by Keylin River. So I'm gonna try to give you guys a close-up of the cover. So can we take a moment to admire that cover? It looks amazing! Great job, Keylin. Great job. Whoever did your cover did an amazing job. I just love it. And in fact, it's so beautiful that I need to get a physical copy when it comes out. So, yeah. So, for those who don't know who Keylin River is, she has a YouTube channel of the same name, and she's a fellow author-tuber. And she has some really great content, and she has some advice on writing, and she has some videos about her journey to writing and publishing her book. And honestly, it's very inspirational and encouraging, and I just love watching her videos so much. So what are you still doing here? Go to her channel and subscribe. In case you get lost, I'll put a link to her channel in the description below, so be sure to check her channel out and subscribe. Well, anyways, I believe Keylin River is a self-published author, and All the King's Traitors is her debut book. And it's the first book in the Hiring series. The book goes on sale on August 31st, so if you want a copy of the book, just go right over to Amazon and buy the book. I'll put the link in the description below. With all that being said, let's move right into this review. Oh, but before we do, I have a quick disclaimer. I have received an ARC from Keylin River in exchange for my honest review. So, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely noticed an ingenious strategy on Keylin's part. There's the amazing book cover, which draws people in, and there's the title, All the King's Traitors, which draws them in even more. And those two things highly increases the chance of someone picking up the book. And when you have a book cover like that, it hooks people in, and it makes them pick up your book. And we like to say that we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but let's face the facts. Everyone judges a book based on its cover. Come on, if you have a really cool cover that just flashes at you, you have to pick it up. All the King's Traitors. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that's a very intriguing looking book. That is a very clever title, because it has a lot of intrigue and mystery surrounding it that it makes the person want to know more about that book, and it forces them to pick it up. So yeah, that cover and that title is a very clever marketing strategy. I mean, it made me pick the book up. Okay, so now that we got past the cover and the title, let's read the synopsis of this book and see what it's really about. Over 1,000 years have passed since the first godstones ripped through the skies and mangled the earth. With their fall came centuries of chaos and destruction, but also immense power. Power that separates humans from gods. Now, in the kingdom of Azanthia, I believe that's how you pronounce it, I'm not quite sure. Now, in the kingdom of Azanthia, two adoptive brothers flee from unjust conscriptions. A fugitive heiress of a slaughtered people struggles to truly be free. A double-crossing warrior must choose where his allegiance lie, with his wife or with his daughter. A traitorous heir to the kingdom's throne roams the land in search of an army to call his own. A prodigy in the house of historians competes in a grueling trial to prove her loyalty. And one god king rules over them all. Can you believe that synopsis? So good, very intriguing, and it's one of the reasons why I had to get my hands on that book. So, what type of book is this? The best that I can do to describe it is that it's an epic fantasy/adventure with multiple POVs. It's a very good book, and I was pleasantly surprised considering it's her debut book. And if you guys know me, which you probably don't, it's that I only dabble in fantasy. I don't really read a lot of fantasy, which is weird because I love all kinds of genres. I would even go as far to consider myself as a multi-genre author. So what really drew me to that book was I've been following Keylin on her YouTube channel for quite some time now, and yeah, I did wanted to show my support by reading it, but what also drew me to it was the synopsis for that book. It's a really good synopsis, and it's very interesting, and it was kind of refreshing for me, so I just had to get my hands on a copy of that book, and now here I am. Alright, so let's dive deeper into this and discuss the elements of the story and see whether if it's a okay book, decent enough book, or just hands down fantastic, amazing fireworks book. And at the end of this video, I will reveal how many stars I gave this book. So, let me just grab my notebook. I wrote down a lot of vital notes in it, such as the story, the characters, the plot, the structure, just a couple of things you need to consider when reading a book. Sometimes it can be executed very poorly, other times it can be executed very well. So let's take a look in this notebook and see if it was executed well. So, let me grab my glasses first, because I'm blind as a bat without them. Yes, I wear glasses. Alright, so let's talk about the first chapter. And with any first chapter, it's very important to have a hook. Something that draws the reader in from the start and keeps them turning the pages. And Keylin has an excellent hook for the first chapter. We are introduced to a character named Valak, who's seen roaming a deserted town, and we get a little backstory about him and the place where he grew up, which is Azanthia. And we don't get a whole lot of information, but we do get enough to keep us intrigued and invested. And really, that's the hook. That's what keeps the reader turning the pages to learn more. And I would say that there's a secondary hook. In the first chapter, we see a big fight scene between two characters. You can never go wrong by putting a big fight scene in your first chapter. Honestly, that just makes your story 10 times more compelling in my opinion. Because the readers will be asking themselves, who are these characters and why are they fighting? And what's their motivation? What's going on here? And really, that's the hook that draws the reader in and makes them very curious, and they'll want to know more about the story. Plus, it's just a really exciting way of starting the story off. Punch, punch, kick, explosion! Ouch, I accidentally hit my elbow. I really love reading a lot of fight scenes and action-driven books and action movies. Though, I do understand that it's not always necessary. Sometimes people throw in a fight scene just for the sake of having a fight scene. And because of this, it can feel forced and empty, and sometimes it won't even move the plot forward. But this was not the case for Keylin at all. There's a lot of action placed throughout the book, and it doesn't feel forced or empty. In fact, there's a lot of purpose for each one, and just like every great fight scene should have. And she has carefully placed them throughout her book where it feels completely natural and vital to the plot. And if I were to view the structure of the book, I would say that it has a pretty steady pace. There's not too much, there's not too little, there's just enough. Oh, and just one more thing while we're still on the topic of fight scenes. It was very vivid. She did a really good job of painting a picture inside the reader's head. It was exciting, fast, and suspenseful, just some of the qualities you want in a fight scene. She was straight to the point and very clear. As a reader, you don't want to be confused when reading fight scenes because it breaks your flow of the story and you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, what's going on? So yeah, Keylin did a very good job on the first chapter and the action scenes throughout the book. So you get major points for that. Alright, so let's look at other notes on this notebook. The world building in this book was pretty incredible. Honestly, I didn't know what I was going to expect in this book. And to my surprise, her world building was very good. Just like with any fantasy books or sci-fi books or just really big books, there needs to be a lot of world building involved. Just think about it. You have to pay attention to every small detail because you're building a world from scratch. I honestly have not even begun to fathom how Keylin did this. How, Keylin? How? So I don't want to spoil too much about this story, so I apologize if I don't go too much in depth about the world building, but I will tell you what I enjoyed what she did. Such as, you know, the villages, towns, kingdoms, and, you know, unique names for them as well. And just some of the background and lore behind all that. And she did a good job of introducing a unique race to the story that I was very intrigued about. So let's talk a little bit about the Godstones. What are the Godstones? So basically, they're stones that fall from the sky. And they give the wielder extraordinary powers. And there's quite a bit of backstory and lore behind them. There's a scene in the book where it sort of explains the science behind them a little, and it was very intriguing to read. This book has really great world-building material, and I haven't even discussed Ascension Trials or Allegiance Day, or gone in depth about the Kingdom of Azanthia, or talked about how exactly this world sort of came to be. There's just a lot of information, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But I will say this, that a lot of the characters do help with the world building. Oh, I don't even know how Keylin created this world, but she did. The world building is very great, and she brought me into a world I've never been before, and it was very unique and visually awesome, and good job. You get super major points for this. She really needs to make a video on world building because I would be very interested in seeing what she has to say on it because it was very good in that book. Alright, moving on. Let's look at some more notes. Here's a good one. So here's another reason why I love this story. We get a POV from multiple characters. Yes, multiple. So I haven't read that many multiple POV books, so I wasn't sure what to expect when reading this one. And to my surprise, she executed it very well. I think that it can be pretty risky having multiple POVs in your book if you don't know how to do it well, because the readers sometimes will be confused or even irritated with you. So I was sort of surprised how Keylin did this. The transition between character to character to character was actually very smooth and easy to follow. There's a POV for a lot of characters, and it's really awesome to see because we are put inside the minds of all these characters and we get to know their desires, their motivations, and what's cool too is that we become invested in a lot of them. You know, it's very easy to like some of these characters. And what was really cool too was that each character were distinct. You didn't confuse them for another character. They each had their own voice, which was recognizable, and they had different and unique personality, which was pretty fun and interesting to read. Okay, I gotta say this. I don't know if anyone has the same opinion, but when I was reading the book, I sort of had an MCU feel to it. And what I mean by that is, you know the Avengers movie? Well, we all are invested in all the characters because we watch their separate films prior to Avengers. And when they finally come together in this one film, it's pretty exciting to see them interact with each other, and you're like, this is really fun and cool. This is exactly how they would interact with each other. And it's sort of the same for this book, All the King's Traitors. We're so invested in all these characters because we're following them on their journey and we're learning so much about them. So when they finally come together in a scene, it's pretty exciting to watch their interactions, their dialogue, and what they think about each other. And each character has their goal. So it's very interesting to watch them cross paths with one another. There's a scene in the book where a character has to make a choice, and I'm just sitting on my bed, reading, and just thinking to myself, dude, why? Why on earth would you do this? Keylin, you know what I'm talking about. You just had to take my heart out and stepped on it. So yeah, the multiple POVs has a very clear and smooth transition. It's really easy to follow all these characters. You won't feel confused or lost, or you won't feel that it's awkward or forced. It's executed very well that it's so easy to follow these characters and enjoy going inside their minds and seeing how they react to the same or different situations. I don't know how she did it, but she executed it perfectly. Great job, Keylin. Major points. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Okay, so let's talk about dialogue. Dialogue is pretty tricky to write, and it's actually one of my weaknesses in writing. You have to know your characters very well, and you have to know exactly what they would say to someone and how they would say it. The dialogue in this book, honestly, I'm not just saying this, but it felt very natural to me. The dialogue in this book revealed the personality of the characters, so we learned quite a bit from the characters through the dialogue. And another great thing too is that the dialogue was very distinct. Each character had their own voice, so you knew exactly who was talking. So I love a lot of the dialogue in this book. And there's a scene where this girl sits down by this boy and she asks him for advice on why this particular person is mad at her. And the boy, you know, shockingly gives her great advice, and we learn that he's, you know, a pretty intelligent boy. So yeah, that's all I have to say about the dialogue of this book. It just feels very natural and intriguing. I don't think there's a dull moment with the dialogue. It's executed very well. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, so here's the last piece of my notes. I won't go too much in depth about it because this video is probably already too long. Okay, so let's talk just a little bit about the structure of this book, such as the story, the characters, and the plot. Keep in mind there's more elements in the structure of a book, but these are the main things that I keep my eye out for. All the characters has a story, and all the character has a beginning. And during the courses of this book, we get to see them grow and change as a character. There was really good character development in this book. So let me sort of give you guys an example of this. In chapter 2, we are introduced to another character, a boy named Kuba. And I believe that he's 12 years old. And basically this chapter is the introduction to his everyday life in his village. He is just a simple boy that just wants to stay with his family forever, without any conflict whatsoever. But when something forces him to separate from his family, he will have to go on a long journey to get back the life that was stolen from him. Throughout the courses of this book, Kuba has to go on a very long journey with some friends, of course, and he has only one goal in mind, to get back his mom and dad. Kuba is normally a scared and panicky type of kid, but throughout this book, he goes through changes and he grows more as a character. By the end of this book, Kuba is a changed character. He went through so much character development to the point where he's no longer that scared and panicky kid he was from the start. And Kuba isn't the only one that goes through these changes. We follow a lot of other different characters, and as they go on this long journey, they change and they grow as a character. They go through a lot of character development, and by the end of this book, they're a different person. So let's talk a little bit about the beginning of this book. At the beginning of the book, it's a little slow, and that's understandable because it's setting up the world. There are things that you need to know before you can get past all that. And when we do get past that, it's really smooth sailing from there. I don't have to say much about the plot other than it was brilliantly placed, with each plot that was solved by the characters, worst one arose. We did get a breather every now and then, and the plot kept getting higher and higher and higher till it reached the climax. With each book or movie, there needs to be like a sequences of action, and there needs to be like a breather in between those actions. So we did have a breather, and then when the next plot came, it kept on going higher and higher and higher till it reached the climax. So yeah, I honestly have to say that the plots and the events were placed very smoothly throughout the book. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this book. It's a very compelling world filled with very interesting and unique characters. The world building was very great, and the characters helped with the world building and they moved the plot forward. I don't read a lot of fantasy books, but I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I didn't really find a lot of problems with this book because I just really enjoyed it a lot. And I honestly can't wait for the second book to come out. So I gotta give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It's that good, and I would encourage a lot of you guys to go over on Amazon and order yourself a copy. The book just brought you on an incredible journey, and I just really enjoyed it, and I just might have to read a lot more fantasy books now. And now I really want to get my hands on a physical copy of that book, just to, you know, show my support to the author and show them how much I appreciate them for writing this book. Alright, if you guys love this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. But if you hated the video, feel free to give me a thumbs down and tell me how much a piece of crap I am. Again, this was my very first book review, so it was a little bit awkward. I tried to get all my messy thoughts in order and tell you guys what I loved about this book. It's a really good book, and I can't stop talking about it. This was a lot of fun, and expect more of this in the future. So until next time, guys, see you in the next video. Oh, and Keylin, if you're watching this video, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to reading your book and sending out this review.